Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome once again to another episode of Plain Talk. It is the only online show that is bringing to you all of the thought leaders in society, people that you want to hear from. What is their opinion on how we handling this, how we managing this? We cannot continue to be a country that is led by press conference and government is making parliamentary decisions by press conference. And I have been trying to get all of the right people to answer all of the right questions, similar to when we had Gary Griffith on the show to debunk the whole government was able to write its own laws within the press conference, and Gary came in. They had to actually use this show on one of the mainstream medias. Today, we joined in studio by, well, he always is a man that needs no introduction. He's the one and the only, often imitated, never duplicated, Austin Jack Warner. Good day, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, Philip. Thank you very much for your kind sentiments.
Thanks for joining us. A lot of things going on in the public space where this COVID-19 is concerned, and the real purpose of giving the public strong opinion makers, thought leaders, is so that they see that all is not lost and we've not lost the ship. What's your take on everything?
Well, in the beginning, I felt that the government was doing a very good job and that they had to be commended. But as we proceed, I'm not so sure that I can share those same sentiments because I see a lot of flip-flop taking place. For example, one week you are told you don't need any face mask because we don't have the same traffic like New York and so on. The following week you're told have face masks. One week you are told that we are not, of course, in any serious position. The following week you are told that it's worse than World War One, Two, and 9/11. So I really don't know because of the signals we are getting, and that's why I am a bit, I mean, in a sense, don't be frustrated, but I am mixed myself.
But somebody like you who's as plugged in and who has his ear to the ground as you are, because I'm not mixing any matters, you are a very connected guy. If you are confused, what are you leaving for the average man in the street? We had a
Well,
situation. Go
I
ahead.
say the average man is doubly confused, and this is why I feel instead of having a press briefing every day, they should have three per week, possibly, to give them time to get their act together, and therefore people will listen. But now people are beginning to be turned off by these press briefings, and they are beginning to serve no useful purpose.
It seems that they get one idea that they think is going to be the idea per day, and they come and they build these 3 hour conferences around that one idea, and they expect that the public. I think it's a lot of politicking, if you ask me, because the politicians are not supposed to be the ones with lead on this at this point. If there are political issues
Supposed
to address.
supposed to be the medical team, the medical people, and so on, and not politicians. Politicians should be in the background as far as I'm concerned, and the medical people should be in the foreground. But that's not happening because everybody wants to be exposed to TV. Everybody believes that this is something that should be politicized, and they're making blunder after blunder.
I can't help but agree with you, and I can't help but think that they're going to regret the overexposure by the time the chickens come home to roost, or they start to come home to roost. Because, take for example, the government's mishandling of the KFC restaurants are essential. And when Sauce went and followed all of the guidelines and built out their place to over comply, when I checked it, Source doubles. The system that they had set up was
First
more
class,
in was
first
more in
class.
and when they raised the fuss and got their member of parliament and a battery of attorneys to write the state, the prime minister overcorrected in the other direction and closed all restaurants now. So
And that can't
what
be
is it?
right. It just cannot be right. And you see, if you are thinking about the little people, the small business small businesses and so on, you cannot agree to those conditions because it was correct and right up to today. And then overnight, abracadabra, it's wrong. And those are the things I'm talking about.
Policy by VAPS.
By
The
VAPS, by VAPS,
government
by press briefing.
by press briefing. And Gary Griffith said that you can't write law by press briefing. There's a procedure that these things must be done by.
But I
But
don't even know if Gary is aware sometimes of the kind of laws that he has to follow. Because to the best of my knowledge, he has not even been briefed. He has not even have a meeting with those guys. They go to their press briefings, they make their decisions, and then he has to comply. And that is why there is this chasm between Gary and the political leadership.
no, because you see, Gary's aware of something, eh? When you arrest somebody, they have to at some point have a day in court. And
Yes,
in front of a magistrate or a judge, you have to be able to say what you charge this person with.
that's correct.
And And if there is no charge or no readily sensible charge, it is the police service and the commissioner of police that will be in the firing line.
That's also correct.
Gary
And you
can't
see,
go.
that is
Well,
why I made the point, Philip. You cannot solve this matter by chinksing. The government is chinksing daily, sometimes even weekly. And the fact is simply either you say overnight, let's call a state of emergency, where you don't have the power to enact certain laws and so on, or you don't. But you can't ask Gary to arrest people for walking. You can't ask Gary to arrest people if they don't have their mask and so on. You can't do that. And this is why I don't understand why it is they are running from this state of emergency. As I explained in Sunshine today, that's been out tomorrow morning. Why is it this being done? Is it because of the so-called finances? Is it because Mrs. Prasad Mrs. said to call it? Is it because Israel can't say to call it? Is it because, and you see the other, is it because everything tells you that if you have to arrest this thing, you cannot chinks. And what the government is doing is chinksing.
if they call a state of emergency, they lose the absolute authority they have right now and bring the parliament back in play.
That's correct. That's correct. And then suddenly their importance, their self-importance goes into the background.
Diminishes.
And that's correct.
They don't
That's
want to
correct.
share that. They don't want to share the decision-making spotlight. They don't want to. They don't want to give anybody the authority to question their decision-making and their actions.
But what for me, I go one step further, Philip. I see where all the international agencies are lending money like crazy, and we are not borrowing money from them. We are going into our heritage and stabilization fund to take money out of that fund for your children and your grandchildren in years to come. Why are we not borrowing money from these agencies? And to me, the answer must be because you have to account for it. You cannot spend it willy nilly. And for a government which, after 4.5 years, has refused to implement a procurement legislation, I understand why they're behaving as they're behaving.
No, but Jack, if you were the prime minister, I mean, you have to understand Keith Rowley's position. $50 million for Tobago hotels are critical to fighting COVID-19. Critical.
Yeah, I take a point. Very critical. And Tobago doesn't have a single place to put one Tobagonian in quarantine. Not a
Not one.
single place. Not
Not
one.
one.
Yet for $50 million. To do what? To do what? And what
Like,
is even more alarming, if you get sick, you have to be brought from Tobago to Trinidad by a Coast Guard vessel and so on. Which is again is it which means that you may even die before you reach here. But $50 billion has been approved for Tobago to do what? To do what, Philip?
is it that they think that their control of traditional media will keep Trinidadians outside of their diehard Balize cult? Do they think that the other people will not see and will not ask a question?
Well, if that's the case, they're failing because with programs like this one and what you have done in the past, people's eyes are opened, and that is why Sunshine Today is still alive to open people's eyes. And if the traditional media don't, I mean, if they want to play ball, that's their business. But at the end of the day, our role is to open people's eyes.
As you're saying, there is something that is critical that needs to be addressed in this country. And I've said today, Stuart Young is lying to the nation, and as a government minister, that constitutes misbehavior in public office, a serious crime. Any conversation about COVID-19 after airspace was closed could have been done online. And the government, having refused entry to actual citizens of this country trying to return home, the explanation that Keith Rowley and the Venezuelan vice president needed to discuss COVID-19 face to face doesn't wash.
I don't think that anybody has been fooled by that. And there are a lot of rumors making the rounds, which I wouldn't go into at this point in time, that say why of course Delcy came to Trinidad, Delcy Rodriguez. At the end of the day, you're quite right. In this modern day and age, look, I'm in my home, you in your office, we talking. When I was a minister of national security, I talked to ministers in the Caribbean throughout the Caribbean by Skype. And if you have to fly in here to talk about COVID-19, then something has to be wrong. Moreover, what experience do we have in COVID-19 that we could advise Venezuela or anybody else? What do we
I thought,
have?
I thought they came to bring the cure.
I wouldn't say what they came to do, but I tell you, rumors making the rounds.
But Jack, the only reason you would need to come in person is to put in my hands some sort of medicine, some sort of device that if you sprinkle it on people or point it at people, you would cure them.
That could be one reason. There could be others.
Because other
Don't ask me what they are. I said there could be others.
listen, like you, I'm hearing a lot of reasons. I have
Yeah.
seen questions by the international media to Stuart Young asking how many planes did Delcy Rodriguez come with? Was it one, two, or three? And what were in the other two planes if there were two other planes?
You know what's interesting, Philip? Delcy went to Spain afterwards and couldn't land, you know. The Spanish minister went to meet her, and the whole country was up in arms, you know. And she had to go back. That is Spain. Spain to Venezuela is like England to Trinidad and Tobago. That is their colonial master, so to speak. And she couldn't land there. She could not land there. But here she walked in, and our citizens in Barbados can come in Suriname can come in, but Delcy can come in. And the traditional media see nothing wrong with that.
Why they're not asking these questions though? Because it seems to be a critical issue. The government cannot continue to operate the country as if they are the puppet masters. We are still a democracy last time I checked. I do not know if they've abolished the constitution and they're ruling by fiat, but there are laws and we are guided by by those laws. In any real country, investigations would have been launched already. What exactly are you doing? And stop using COVID-19 as the excuse for everything, because you can't say that we can't have conversations about missteps and mistakes the government making because this is the government that's handling COVID-19. I have serious concerns with how this government is handling COVID-19.
The government is prostituting COVID-19, hopefully to its advantage. But from where I sit, they're not succeeding. In fact, just now you'll hear that COVID-19 is the reason why you didn't get 400,000 bulbs in March, you know. You'll hear just now. You hear COVID-19 is the reason why you didn't get water 3 times or 4 times a week, you know. You hear COVID-19 being the reason why your salary late, you know.
I had Robin Montano on this show yesterday, and I told Robin that I said this government got a Hail Mary with COVID-19 because this is an election year. And if Keith Rowley and this government had to stand on their track record to come back to the public, they were in trouble.
But Philip, COVID-19 will come and go, and hopefully people will see to it and see what has happened over the last 4.5 years. COVID-19 may have opened and given a cushion of stability for the government, but at the end of the day, this will not last, and people's eyes are bound to be opened. As you said in an article for Plan B, when their salary can be paid, when their savings are gone, when they have no food at home, then you see how successful the government has been going with COVID-19. What have we done so as to stabilize food production? Have we given farmers any incentive to grow new crops and to as it were, replace the 6 billion foreign exchange we spend every year in imported food. What have we done? What have we done for Plan B, as you have asked, Philip? What have we done for Plan C? Right? Let me give you one example. Under the Queen's Park um, Savannah, where they have, of course, the grandstand. I wrote an article on the under the grandstand. You have 100 toilets, 50 for men, 50 for women. And I ask the question, why couldn't you outfit there for when the time comes and you have to house thousands of people, as may well be the case? Why don't you outfit there? It's government property. You have toilets facilities, put some bed and some blinds and so on. What is wrong with that? But once the idea doesn't come from them, it's not good.
But if you're going down that route about repurposing existing properties that the government has control over, why not Hilton Hotel? They fired everybody. We spent nearly $1 billion renovating that hotel under Manning. There are massive kitchen facilities. The army could be cooking meals there. We could be housing people there who are they're driving them all over the country, Sangre Grande, Mayaro, Maracas, looking to put them somewhere. Why are you not using the Hilton Hotel? Where it is there, it is out of circulation with anybody else. Why are you not using there? Is it that you don't want to give COVID-19 victims a view?
Well, your answer is as good as mine. I really can't tell you. I really can't say. But I don't see it
One,
happening. I don't see it happening in our collective lifestyle. Hilton
one
Hotel.
day, one day into your response, Hilton that you control fire everybody, send them home without money. How come you
Yeah.
couldn't replace that facility and use that instead of looking to rent this partner own in Balandra and that partner own in Toko and this friend land that they get from from Karani in Grandi? I mean, when you hear these stories that coming out of what this government is doing, it is an obscene abuse of office in the face of what is supposed to be a dangerous pandemic.
And what is painful is the fact that there are persons in society, PM supporters and members, who believe that it is wrong to ask questions. They believe that it's an affront to ask questions. You have to do and be damned. You mustn't ask any question. This is a democracy. We have to ask questions. We have to ask why, when, how, and so on. But nobody wants to ask those things. And when you ask it, they're angry.
On the 31st of January 2020, this government had President Paula May Weeks declare that a national health emergency existed. She proclaimed legal notice number 34. You're aware of that?
I'm aware of that.
As a former senior government minister, a man who's been at the forefront of industry that has multiples of moving parts, you would be aware that for a president to make a proclamation like that, a lot of things had to be lined up, including the legalese that had to be written to give the authority of that state of health emergency. Yes?
That is correct. That is correct.
So you
But go
do
one step
all.
further. Go one step further. I jumped from January to February and March. Look how many attempts the opposition made to raise the issue in the Parliament and the Senate. Ask yourself, why is it the Speaker, the, of course, appointed by the PNM, and the President of the Senate, appointed by the PM, they didn't see it at all as being a matter of urgent public importance. Now, this is January and February. Ask yourself why.
Jack, I was told that the proclamation and the first request by Tim Gopi Singh happened on the same day. And what is astonishing is that the president, acting under instruction from the Minister of Health, which I assume was under the permission of the head of the cabinet, the Prime Minister, was allowed to create a state of national emergency, a health emergency, and then the Speaker of the House saying this is not a matter of national emergency. Is this a case of left hand not doing what right hand doing, or is this just government just phoning it in, doing what they think they're supposed to do, and then going about their business?
I think the latter is the case. The government is just doing what they think they're supposed to do. They don't believe that they are accountable to anybody. They, of course, they don't think that the opposition is worthy of their explanation, and they're just doing what they want to do. Let me give you another example. I read in yesterday's newspapers a whole page ad, nothing of course subject to they don't advertise there. A whole page ad I read where they said this is how you access the grant from the government. And Philip, I ask you today, go and read that page. If any small man or small person or lower class person gets a government grant, they're lucky. You have to even get 3 months your the bank statement of your salary and so on. When the banks are closed, a long line and so on. Everything you have to do, you have to get a computer to send into your government. What have you? Ask yourself, go and read that for you, and see if any small man will ever be able to access the grants government promise. But you know something? Other people will get them. Other people get the grant with no hassle whatsoever. And I leave the rest to your imagination.
Republic Bank is the second largest employer in this country, I've been told. I've been given this information for a fact. The management of Republic Bank, in giving its employees days off to go shopping, gave every employee of Republic Bank, from every driver to the top manager, an extra $1,000. And it was just deposited in their bank account. They got an email, you'll find an extra $1,000 in your bank account. This is what it's for. While it was being done, something happened and it duplicated, and everybody got a second $1,000. And they were able to contact each of the people that got a second $1,000 to let them know that that was accidental and try not to use that because we need to correct this mistake. The point I'm trying to make to you is this. After the exercise, November and December, when you sent everybody into the bank to make sure that everybody had a bank account so that they could change their $100 bills, you know who is who in Trinidad and Tobago. You're trying to tell me that if this government wanted to give Trinidadians a grant to help them through this, they couldn't just make an initial $1,500 deposit in everybody's bank account from top to bottom. I mean, it's not going to
Very
cost the
simple.
country. You need to keep the
Very
people
simple.
you need to keep the people surviving. 40% of the government's budget comes from taxation directly from the people, so you're not going to lose. Why didn't we just demonstrate a rollout that says, look, all business suspended? I asked another question, and I'm asking this to you, and I want you to tell me if this is not what the government should have done in their first press conference when they announced that we are going to have to take authoritarian measures. Why didn't the government at that point stick a pin in all tax collection and a moratorium for the next 3 months? That tax
Correct.
collection would have allowed them to instruct the banks, we are not taking taxes from you for the next 3 months. In return, we want you to forego all interest on all loans and all credit cards for the next 3 months. If you could defer the principal, even better, but forego the interest so that smaller businessmen, landlords could then cut rents in half by 50 or even 75%. The government could
Yep.
have removed all VAT from basic foodstuffs, basic hardware material, so that people could go about their business, stretch their dollar, they could have get their $1,500 advance in their account, and people could have been safe and not panicked. Why didn't the government do any of those things?
That calls for a quality of leadership that we just don't have, Philip. We just don't have. We don't have visionaries here in our cabinet, in the government. And because of that, the country is going down the tube. All you have said so far are practical solutions, and it could happen very easily, and not this kind of difficult and horrible situation where you have to go and get bank statement and get receipts and get salary this and get that and get the other and get the other. They could do it quite easily. But this is done to fool the people into believing that they are doing something to help them, when in the end, if 10% of those persons get help, they're lucky. They're very lucky. But
The
it
most
sounds
vulnerable,
good. It sounds
the most
good. It gives the impression that the people are being helped, but those persons who need money the most are the ones who won't get it. Let me tell you something. There's a girl, I will call her name, Indigo Martin. She was working in a casino, closed down. She hasn't been working since. Her daughter has cancer. She's been paying her rent, and she has no food. She called me today. She has no food, Philip. She doesn't know what to do. In fact,
You,
some people are becoming
I think I
suicidal.
was- Let me give you a worse one. A
Hello?
woman is she has an autistic child. She
Yes.
lives alone. She and this child, and she has to go back out to work as an essential, but she can't because the person who used to look after the child now can't look after the child, and she can't afford to pay this person. She doesn't know what to do. I asked if she spoke to her MP or the Ministry of Social Development, and she said she can't get through to either her MP missing in action.
I I would wish they could tell me who to get to the MP at this point in time. Who? Tell me who. Which MP has a hotline? I mean, apart from Gary hotline, the day Gary became commissioner of police, he gave you a hotline, right? Which minister, right, has a hotline for his constituents? Which one? Nobody. But they're only of value to them every 5 years. And I say to you, the people like it so. They like it so. What
Why,
can I tell you?
why didn't Keith Rowley issue a hotline, as you say right now, for everybody with difficulty to be able to call so that the government could have people on the phone that say, I'm going to fast track this for you and we're sending help on the way? Why did we put one of those in place?
That, as I said to you, that calls for a visionary to look at that. That calls for an astute political leader or prime minister to look at that. Not what we don't, and those are things we don't have at this point. We don't have those things at this point, and because of that, the country is going on the tube, and we have a kind of mirage, a kind of veneer into believing that what is there is good. It is not, because the people do not get it, and the people who need it most, the most vulnerable, are not getting it. That is my beef at this point in time.
The most vulnerable, as you say, I had to watch video after video of the people most vulnerable to COVID-19, the elders in society who trying to get their pensions, fighting up outside banks because they need to live. I tell people 60 and 70% of pensioners' salaries goes towards medication that they have to
That's right.
have. And
That's
if they
correct.
don't and they don't get their medication on time, they could be in trouble and they could clog up the same healthcare system. I know a gentleman got a stroke yesterday and he's sitting down in St. James Medical Complex, whatever that is, for the entire day today waiting on a CT scan. And I'm saying to you that there is a heartlessness that is there's a heartless undercurrent in this country. It is like the government is trying to punish people who are not their supporters and catching everybody in that same net.
Even CDAP drugs in many pharmacies have been suspended. Even that. Now, who are the ones to suffer at this point? The aged, the elderly, right? The infirm. So, what do they have to do? What can they do? To whom can they turn? That's the question. To whom can they turn?
So when people walking around talking about Keith Rowley is doing a good job of managing this, doing what exactly has he done so far?
They are fooled by the optics. You see, they are fooled by the optics, by people who feign to care. I say feign, Feign, feign to care, who give the impression that they are as concerned about the nation's welfare and the citizens' welfare, when in truth and in fact they are not. And we allow ourselves to be fooled time and time again by these excesses.
I agree today. I'm watching a situation develop where the country announced that a state of health emergency existed. I want the country, I keep reading it for the country to hear that this is what the president proclaimed. And whereas Trinidad and Tobago has been advised recently by the World Health Organization of the existence of the 2019 novel coronavirus, a highly infectious and dangerous disease which is currently occurring in various locations around the world. And whereas the Minister of Health believes that due to the speed and ease of international travel, Trinidad and Tobago can ultimately expect the arrival of coronavirus and the devastating effect on public health. Now, therefore, I, Paula May Weeks, president of the aforesaid, given under my hand, 31st day of January 2020, how could you proclaim something that warns of a devastating, highly infectious and dangerous disease? How could you proclaim that that is coming on January 31st, 2020, and the next time we hear from you is March 16th?
And the
What
person who gave The person who gave the warning to the president is our Minister of Health. Our Minister of Health, the same minister who say we should have carnival
Absolutely.
and so on. The same minister who didn't see anything wrong at all. He said, of course, at Armageddon, I think he said, is not here. What are you worried about? That's in February. The same Minister of Health. And then I see the chief medical officer comes and say in one of the traditional newspapers that carnival had nothing to do with COVID-19. I want to ask him how he knows that. I want to ask him what tests did he do? What analyses did he make to come to that conclusion? That's front page of the paper, Front page. Carnival 2020 had nothing to do with COVID-19. Man, give me a break, please.
The reality of the situation, and people in the know, is saying to me that the only way that they could make the claims and the statements they're making is if we started to engage in mass testing, but we're not.
Mass what?
We're only testing people who traveled.
Yes, sure. But we're not because we don't have the lab for that here, Philip. We have to depend on CAPFA to give us our results and so on. We don't have the labs here for that. There are so many persons working outside who don't have the symptoms for COVID-19, who of course are infected. And those people, because they are infecting others. And that is the tragedy. So therefore in fact, per capita, we are worse off than China. We have 6 or 7 persons have died so far. That is 7%. The Chinese have less than 1%, right? And I'm saying, therefore, we have a serious problem here, but nobody wants to address it. And until we come frontally with the problem, we shall continue to suffer. Because
I find, go
we
ahead.
believe that all the answers to the country's problems are in the hands of the cabinet and the prime minister. Nobody else has any idea. Nobody else has any point of view that makes sense. So, as such, therefore, these are the only guys who have this reservoir of intelligence and understanding to run this country well. Give me a break, guys.
The reality of our situations is the test per million population in USA is 5,779, in Spain is 7,593, in Italy is 11,937, in Germany is 10,962, in Trinidad is 595. We've
For 1
tested
million
800
people.
people out of 1.4 million people. A country
Yeah,
that had 50,000 people come through its doors between January 31st and March 16th. A country
that's
that
right.
allowed 20 people into the country
That's right.
after. How do we justify not testing every single person, as you say, that's walking around outside there? This same guy, Parasram, in one of his earlier press conferences that was trying to nullify another point, said that this 14-day incubation is not carved in stone, that they're not sure it could take as much as 44 days. Now he's trying to backpedal and moonwalk back that into the past. But he said this. And if you say that 44 days still gives you carnival, but what you just said, and this is what people don't get, infection, if you asymptomatic and you give it to somebody else and they asymptomatic and you brought it in for carnival, that don't mean that because it's a second person that take it from you, it disconnects you from your role in it. And
That's true.
they're not, it's a relay. It's a relay. There's something called contact tracing that they engage in the United States and other countries, in Vietnam. The reason Vietnam's numbers are so low is that Vietnam in January closed their borders, quarantined anybody who were demonstrating symptoms, and contact traced everybody that they were in touch with to test and quarantine those people too. That's why Vietnam's numbers are so low. But
Yeah.
Trinidad, we allowed our television host to come into the country, go all over the place, do whatever he want. Look,
Why you go why you go so far? We allow a prime minister to come in the country from another country, from two other countries, coming here, not being quarantined, and go about his business as well. So what's it? I mean, the TV host is wrong, but what about the head? When Gary came back here from London, what did he do? He took 14 days quarantine. 14 days, and he led by example. But the Prime Minister didn't do that as such. And therefore, what you want to say, Ian Allen felt that therefore he could do as the Prime Minister did. This is not to say he was right. Obviously not, he was wrong. Right? But how do you justify one and not the other?
Because we have no real rules. We have rules for some, other people could do what they like. Barbados is testing 1,837 people per million. That is their average. How could Barbados, CAFA is based in Trinidad, how is Barbados testing more than we are?
Good question. Good question. And you know why? Because Barbados has Mia Motley. I say no more. Barbados has Mia Motley. We don't have a Mia Motley here. Simple as that.
That another investigation that had to take place, and I know that they're waiting for the evidence to be lost. But an investigation into that PNM fundraising cruise ship that was allowed to come here from Italy, pick up all those elders, take them out, infect them, incubate them, bring them back, send them on joyrides to Balandra and Toko. But we have no information on exactly what took place. All I have so far is a phone call was made from a former PNM senator to the Prime Minister to get infected persons, exposed persons off of a ship onto Trinidad shore.
Like you, I am waiting. Like you, Philip, I'm waiting to see what transpires out of that. I am aware of it. I heard it as well. And I say again, time longer than trying. So I wait to see what transpired or what will transpire from that.
The reality of our situation now is the public doesn't know what exactly is going on. They're getting mixed signals, but they also plugged into the 24-hour international news cycle and they're getting information there. New York City, when it gives you its daily update, they don't tell you the name of the person, but they tell you the age of the person and any underlying conditions, any pre-existing conditions, and what borough they were in of the five-state area of New York. And the reason for that is so that you can have critical information to be able to guide your decision making. We get a document from the Ministry of Health that's full of words and short on information.
Are you surprised? Are you really surprised, Philip? Isn't that the norm as it were? I mean, that is how things are done here. And nobody seems to be worried or concerned, except possibly you, Philip, and one, two others. Nobody is asking any question. There's absolutely abandonment as far as people are concerned relative to information. And nobody is concerned. We have everything we have done here for COVID-19, we have imported from outside. There's not one original thing that we have done here in this country that's original in any sense. Whatever we have done has been imported, right? Because we have also lost our thinkers as well. So people don't see us in any peculiar position. They don't see us that we have, of course, a situation here that is different from anybody else because of our size, our population, our quality, and so on. No, BBC gives it to you, you take it from BBC. CNN gives it to you, you take it from CNN, and that's what we are doing. They say 10 people, you take 10. They say 5, you say 5. And next week, you'll hear there are two persons are assembly. Next week, you'll hear that, right?
But
They say, go ahead,
no, you
go
go,
ahead.
you go. I want to.
And the same thing applies to the mass. Mass, no mass this week, mass next week. Because they say no, everybody in New York has to wear mask. Don't Trump say here wearing none. All right? But that is what we do. We are merely copycats. And we come here every morning, 10:30, and more people with a lot of COVID, I don't want to say nonsense, COVID old news, so to speak, that doesn't interest anybody. Because by the time they talk here, the people already know about it. In fact, the Minister of Health, his claim to fame is we have 105 cases, 106 cases, 97 cases, but 49 were imported. Oh God, who asked you that? Whether they're imported or not, We have so many cases. But each time it calls the number, 49 were imported. Minister of Health, please, spare us.
But you see, and I want to ask you, and you went down the point of that. If you take that cruise out of our numbers, Trinidad had 2 deaths, 40 cases.
Mhm. That's correct.
That fundraiser, that cruise that was allowed to take place in March, after we knew January, the United States of America cut off all travel with China. February, the United States of America cut off all travel with Europe. We were
That's
aware.
right. That's right. But we were,
We, we,
no, we were fetting, hello, we were fetting Philip. How you mean?
that,
Yeah,
you remember,
don't you hear what this guy say? You fetting still? We were fetting because we were encouraged to fet. We were encouraged to fet because carnival is important.
the point. And right there is why the Minister of Health, if not the Prime Minister, are guilty of reckless disregard for human life. Jack, if you remember when the news announced that Donald Trump, as President of the United States, cut off travel with Europe, you remember how that sounded and how that
Yep.
felt? It was an act of war. Nobody thought that such a thing was possible, and that if you had been to China in 2 weeks, you can't come into America without quarantine.
That's
These
right.
were
That's
acts
right.
that was trying to keep coronavirus out of their country. All of that had already happened, and we still allow these people to get on a cruise and go and sail the seven seas. A boat from Italy, no less.
That's right. Look where, the man. Right? But at the end of the day, let me ask you honestly. Do you see any real serious concern at the national level about these I want to say these transgressions on the government part? Are people really concerned? Do you see the media? I'm not talking about you, there's no sunshine today, but do you see the media as being concerned? Do you see people asking questions the way you are asking questions? Isn't that, of course, something that people should be worried about? The money the government is spending, how they spend it, why not borrowing money from away, and a host of other things. Why this happening? Why A? Why B? Why C? People aren't asking questions, Philip. And because of the kind of people we have and the kind of apathetic behavior, the government is getting away with murder. I don't want you to have a heart attack, I don't want that at all. Because if you do, and because of the government, then all help, heaven help us. So please don't have an attack, my friend. I have lived through this. I have seen the level of apathy in this country that is mind-boggling. And for people who should know better are not coming forward.
But don't you think, though, that we have an obligation to at least write it, that we say it, so that people can't pretend? I always say this: you can't pretend at no point that you didn't know. You was fighting us, you was mocking us, we asking the questions. Like today, I'm asking this question. The entire continent of Africa have less than 300 cases. The entire continent of Africa, all of the countries. The biggest country, the biggest is Egypt with 78, and that's in the northernmost part of Africa, which is leading to the idea that temperate countries are the countries that are the worst affected by coronavirus. And if it wasn't for our cruise, our infection count is 40 or 50 with 2 dead. The Caribbean, countries that are in the heat, if it is the ultraviolet, if it is the heat, if it's the sun, as you said earlier, why are we not tailoring our response to deal with it from that point of view? Why are we not bringing critical information that is specific to where we are and who we are? We're not New York City. We are not New York City. And by now, I hear that they extend to April 30th with all of the panic stations and they're pushing all the panic buttons. But by now, for us to still only be at 105 and still only have 8 deaths, despite the fact that we made so many gross errors, the 50,000 people for Carnival, the 20,000 people after Carnival, the cruise that brought 6 of the 8 deaths and 50 of the 105 people. Don't they see that it is not going to be a pandemic in Trinidad and that they don't have to overreact, overcorrect, but make sensible and sound decisions? My concern is the economy of Trinidad and Tobago. Long after COVID-19 is gone, we will be for generations to come.
Philip, let me ask you a question. In all the press briefings that have taken place every single day, as boring as many of them are, has the government said they'll postpone, they'll shelve the Tobago Highway? Have they said they will shelve the airport in Tobago for $1 billion? Have they said in fact, look around and see what have they said they'll shelve based on what's facing us today? Because the economy here is almost shattered, you know. Before COVID, it was, I mean, tottering, and right now it is shattered, and there is no bright sunny day as far as the economy is concerned. But what have they told you? Based on COVID-19, we have to reassess and reevaluate our priorities. And therefore, A wouldn't be done again or done right now. Toko Highway wouldn't be done right now. But no, they have to maintain these things for a reason which you, I'm sure, know.
But the reality of the situation, Don, when you say that, and I look at the people who are defending the government, and I am wondering, what is so broken in some of our people's minds that they don't understand that they're celebrating their own destruction, that they're defending drama and pressure to come for their children and their grandchildren in the not too distant future? And I talk in weeks and months here, you know. Because a time is going to come in this country, all the talk aside, and all the press conference aside, I ask people all the time, what will you do when your money, how much ever you have, run out? What will you do?
And that is coming. As night follows day, that is coming. And nobody seems to be asking those questions. And I shudder to think what I envision will happen. But I don't want to be an alarmist. I say fine, let's wait and see down the road. But that is coming.
No, this is raising issues. I know that the government watches this show. I know Stuart Young is a regular on this show, and I'm wondering if they're hearing these issues and they know that they have a heads up that they can go and take action to mitigate it, to prevent it from happening. Why aren't they doing it?
Why don't you, let me ask you a favor. Why don't you call Stuart Young or Mr. Diasi on a program like this and ask those very questions for the public to see and understand what's happening? They may tell you no, but at least you would have asked them to come on the program. And the very same questions that are now bedeviling you and me, ask them and see what their answers are. Because I'm sure the public too will want to know. If they say no, fine, no problem. But you would have asked them. I want to beg of you, Philip, to do that.
But I'll ask you a
Do
question.
that.
Is some newspaper accredited for the postcard press conference?
Is what?
Sunshine
Listen,
newspaper, are you accredited for the press conference, postcard, all of these press conferences he calls? Is your newspaper invited?
let me tell you something. Every week, the cabinet, the prime minister office gets 4 copies of the Sunshine Today. The Minister of Information, the Cox gets two, and other ministers get as well, and other institutions. Not once have they invited Sunshine Today to a press briefing. I go further. Because of COVID and the way COVID has now the people equipped, so to speak, they have not felt it fit, not once, to put an ad of any kind in Sunshine Today. But that doesn't alarm us, that doesn't worry us, because we are doing something that we believe is right. And if they believe that because we get no ad, or because we are not invited to their press briefing, that we shall fall up and die, I have news for them. We are here for a long, long time to come. And right now, Sunshine Today is in the streets all over the country as we speak, Philip. And that paper will survive. And I hope the same comes to this program you have here and your radio programs and so on, because this level of technology that you know you're using is way ahead of the others, you know. They want to copy you, I know that, but it's way ahead of the others. Because, and I want to ask you also as well, have you, Philip, been invited to any press briefing?
See, this is what I was going to tell you. A smaller media house that has access to the press conferences asked me if if I would take the accreditation and I would ask the question. I say absolutely. But I wouldn't have mind
Yes.
going on such people. I wouldn't, because I write a column for you. So I wouldn't have mind going in there. I mean, I see that you're publishing it in your paper now. So I wouldn't have mind going on behalf of Sunshine. Because they have one question and only one question I want to ask, because that question gives so much critical information. It is the thread that will unravel all of the government's narrative. And that question is, why aren't you publishing the age and pre-existing conditions of any of our people who have died? Why?
They will tell you that that is confidential information and is not, of course, supposed to be revealed. It's a patient-doctor relationship. You'll hear that.
It's
That's
a
kind of
death
garbage you
certificate.
hear.
It is a public document.
Yeah, sure. But that kind
Wouldn't
of
that death,
garbage they will tell you,
no, but
and there are people outside there who would support that, who support
wouldn't
that and say it's
wouldn't
correct.
wouldn't a death certificate have that information?
Sure, it's public information. It's public information, Philip, but not for people like you or me. It's public information. We have so far X number of persons quarantined, six female, X female, Y male, the ages between X and Y, and so, and they have come from these areas, and blah blah. What is wrong with that? And six have died. These are the ages. Sons, you're calling any names? What is wrong with that?
I'm telling you,
What is
sir,
wrong with that, Philip?
of the 989,499 currently infected patients in the world, 941,993 or 95% are considered mild. Mild.
Yep.
Understand this.
Yep.
Nobody dies from mild coronavirus. Only 47,506 are serious or critical. This is the whole world. Of the 352,722 cases worldwide that have had an outcome, they are now called closed cases. 278,168 or 79% have recovered and have been discharged.
Right.
74,554 have died. Since coronavirus has been checked for tests, 1,342,221 people have tested for it. 278,000 have been discharged. 941,000 are mild cases. There have a lot of sensationalizing and fear-mongering, panicking taking
Oh
place.
yes. Oh yes.
I am not saying this is not a serious disease, but I am saying we are throwing the baby out with the bathwater with this overcorrection. Because if we have the ability to self-isolate 1.4 million people, if we have the ability to shut down 1.4 million people, why aren't we then focusing on the 200,000 people that could be considered most at risk to getting severe coronavirus? Because they will tell you that a young person died here and a young person died there and 4 people under the ages of 54. And I get that. Nothing is absolute. And I don't want to have to say that the hospital messed up or that the person had an underlying condition and they didn't know. The solution to coronavirus, unless you have, and this is what people have to understand, 50% of all of the deaths that took place, of that number I call there, almost 50% of those deaths is Italy and Spain. 2 countries, Italy
Yep.
and Spain, were the highest top 5 reasons for death is COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, ischemic heart failure with
Very good.
oxygen blood, or lung cancer. 99% of those deaths all had 2 or more underlying conditions. All of this, Jack, is not to minimize anybody's fear of coronavirus, and we should take steps and wash hands and sanitize, wear your mask, put on your gloves.
Yep.
But
Yep.
the economy does not have to be destroyed, and the democracy don't have to be destroyed. And I think that we actually have to have a conversation based on these facts, because we've shut this country down 14 days now. We just extended 30 days, and we only had
I,
105 cases, and 50 of those cases walked off a boat. So if we only had 105 cases and 50 cases came off a boat, and we're not at 1,000 and we're not at 5,000, then that tells me that with all of the exposure, all of us winding up on top of one another, back in one another's face, sweating up under one another's armpits, we didn't contract but we didn't have a mass pandemic in Trinidad and Tobago. So we are overcorrecting, and we are having press conferences that is frightening. My mother calls me on the phone after every press conference. I tell her, I don't watch that. You
That makes
shouldn't
that
either.
makes that makes two of us. That makes two of us. I surely don't. But let me ask you a question before you go. I mean, have you ever asked yourself, Philip, how many ventilators we have in this country? Have you ever asked yourself, why is it we don't spend some money in buying some ventilators urgently? Because that is what is needed for critical cases. Ventilators. How many we have? How many available?
That
Are
is
we
not
bought
just
in
what
any?
that is such a savant statement. I want to tell you why. The solution to coronavirus is our ventilators. They used to be
That's right.
called respirators. I went and did the research. What COVID-19 does in severe cases is it fills your lung with fluid and you drown.
That's right.
And a ventilator forces oxygen between the fluid and the walls of
That's
your
right.
lungs, that there could be an exchange of oxygen to oxygenate your blood, which is the purpose of your lungs. Okay, so for the duration of your body producing that fluid, you need to be on a ventilator. They put some people in a coma so that they don't have to feel the pain of stretching your lungs to get the oxygen into your blood. But 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, you start to recover. I am hearing nothing about the recovery in Trinidad. You asked a question just now.
That's right.
Between January 31st and March 16th, the money we spent on Nahus and Al Rawi buildings in 1 and 3 Alexandra Place could have brought 100 ventilators to this country. What are we doing?
No comment from me on that. I leave that to you because at the end of the day, I am enough trouble already. But I could tell you something. You have a very good point. That's all I say. You have a very good point.
Jack Warner, it is always a pleasure. The time flew by. When people watch this show, they're going to see
You
we didn't
mean
stop
you
the
mean
thing.
are we finished?
No,
An
we
hour
were
is passed already?
always
Oh
passing. But
my.
I want to give you as
Oh
much
my.
time as you want.
No, it's
Give me
okay,
some.
don't worry. I mean, look, there'll be other times, man. Let me not overdo it because let me, of course, let me make myself wanted, so to speak, and don't overdo it. Because if I don't like the press briefings they have daily that I do not see, I don't really see the people see Jack Warner on the screen and they say they don't want to see it, right? So it's okay. I'll take this time off though, and I'm available whenever you're ready. I'm available to talk on this or any other issue. And as the time
No,
goes by, Philip, you'll realize that you have to do this sometimes 2 and 3 and 4 times per day because the issues will multiply so quickly over time. It will amaze you.
Jack, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. I know that, and you're aware, you made a joke about it just now. To some people, you could be a polarizing figure, but I want to tell you something. Every time that I announce that I'm going to be talking to Jack Warner, there is an excitement that bubbles through the viewership. They want to hear what you have to say. A lot of people still consider you the ultimate man of action, and I hope, and I say this because I want people to hear, I am somebody who's called every spade a spade, but I hope that you are not finished with your contribution to Trinidad and Tobago. Post COVID-19, we need more people like you on board.
I'll give you one assurance that won't happen. I will not lie down and die, as many people believe or hope for. That will not happen. If it happens, Philip, we over my dead body, right?
And it was an absolute pleasure talking to you again.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and well, so that brings this to a close. There's not much more to add. There was a lot that we discussed here. So if you watched this video and you liked what you heard and it got you thinking, share it with as many people as possible. The only purpose of these shows is to get our people thinking critically and ready to stand up and demand a better country for themselves, their loved ones, their families, their friends. The better country we want is on the other side of that, knowing better, thinking better, acting better. Until tomorrow, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.